And now this is probably the coolest effect of the entire video. So let's look at that again. Hello friends and welcome back to yet another reaction analysis video. In the comments of the previous episode, you guys been going crazy asking for one certain review, and that is about Benn TK. And that is exactly what we're gonna do today. So several of you guys have been pointing out that his video 12 countries in 24 days is one of the best ones, and I should go and review that one. Because that's what we do in this series. If you're new to this channel, my name is Florian, I'm a video editor, filmmaker, and in this series I'm analyzing videos from your favorite creators on YouTube to break down their effects and techniques so that you can use them for your own videos and improve. So let's jump into the video and look at Benn TK's 12 countries in 24 days because that one was really sick. Spoiler alert. If you haven't watched it, go watch it before. So let's jump in and take a look at his edit. There's a little bit of longer intros, there's a lot to analyze, and in order not to make this video here too long, we're gonna jump a little bit ahead.
Europe, a continent so full of wonder, busting with beautiful architecture and late.
So he really begins with setting up the story behind it. So that a video really stands out, it doesn't just need to look good, it also needs to give you that kind of context. What is it about? What's the story? And that's what he really does here. You hear clearly that he's Australian. I can't even redo the accent. And then the title gives it away, so we can already guess what's going to be happening now. And there are first establishing shots.
Also incredibly different and unique
Very
from the
cool
last.
footage.
Each filled with so much
Setting the scene and gives us a feel of what's going to come now. And then he as the character is being introduced here, and that's a very long gimbal shot rotating around him.
About to embark on an incredible journey, traveling across 12 countries in 24 days.
So the scene for the story is set, we know what it's about. Now it's time to get in the main part of the story and the crazy edit. And if you haven't seen it before, sit tight because this is gonna get super crazy.
So let's do this.
So this effect he really likes to use going into the eye. We're gonna look at it again real quick. So this was the intro, pretty cool. Let's quickly look at what he did there. This was here a long gimbal shot going around him on the gimbal and then going on his face and as close as possible to the eye so that the camera stops right before the eye. And then he starts zooming in. You see the guy who's filming him is reflected in his eye here. And then it goes into black. Then he uses a dark alleyway, which is also black, to match the shots. And since it's going forward, the next shot must also go forward, and then since the eye obviously is round, it's now a perfect situation to turn the image. So here he probably took a camera on the gimbal and walked forwards, and now either he had the gimbal turning the camera itself, or he scaled up the image and then he turned it in the editing software. He turned the camera to the wall and then matched it to another shot of a wall, and then you just see the picture wiping up and down, which is too fast to really see what exactly is happening. And then what he's doing here, this one, here you see like a window, and then here he opens this up, but this looks like he did that in After Effects. So up here you can see that the shadow line goes there, so that means he cut it out here, and then while the image zooms in, this sliding up here is animated. He created that. Similar as here, if you look at this shot, here's a clear cut, so here is simply a house wall, and the normal window would have looked like this, but then he masked that out, and then he lets the doors that probably look exactly like this, he animates them so that it looks like they're opening up and reveal this shot behind that. And here the text is really going towards us, so it's animated with a camera in After Effects. And then here there's this gap in the R, this little hole, which he masks out, and then while zooming it in, it becomes big and it reveals the next shot that is behind it. That was a pretty cool intro, and that gives you like the first whoa moment. Really cool drone shots. Listen to the church bell ring sounds, a lot of ambient noise, city noise. And now it's getting fast. The music is picking up now, and that moment comes the first like a fast blurred motion here of the tram. When he's speeding it up, there's a lot of motion blur. Here you see it's very blurry. Slow tilt up. This must have been shot with a gimbal. So smooth how he's tilting up here. He's walking in this dome, and that same moment he's tilting up the gimbal so that it reveals the opening of the dome. There's no house on this right side, so this comes animated in. This is the part of the second shot that's coming in, has that sliding down, and then here, look at what's happening in the middle. This gets blurry, and now we're at the next shot. Pretty crazy what he's doing here. Listen to the horse ambient sound. Here you see it's very nice bokeh. I don't know which camera he's using at the moment. I think I've seen one of his recent videos on his channel in which he had a Sony a7 III. Most likely using the prime lens, or at least that I've seen in one of his gear videos. This is like a pretty cool effect, and I've not seen anyone else doing anything similar before. So if you look at this here, this is a shot in which this Eiffel Tower belongs, exactly like this, and then he masked it out, cut it into 3 pieces, and then animated in the pieces building up on top of each other. Here he masked it out at the skies. He replaced that so that you don't see that. Then he lets the Eiffel Tower appear. So here is the mask, and then he fades it in with motion blur. Second part with motion blur, and the next part with motion blur. Super cool effect. Here, hyperlapse, you see the boat is going very quickly. So he's moving, taking image by image, and then making a hyperlapse out of it. This is a really, really cool shot. Very wide angle on the gimbal, walking forward, slightly tilting up. Here he's walking with the gimbal in a normal steady pace, and then he's speeding it up very much, and in that speed up comes a lot of blur. Look at this, blur. And then he's doing the same that he did in the intro, which is going through a narrow pathway and then rotating the image to that, and super quickly, and adding motion blur. In the end here you see that this goes to another alleyway. In this exact moment he's masking out this gap, and comes the next shot so that you don't even see that transition, and this reveals the next shot. Here the gondola. It blurs, pans to the left, and here's the cut that you normally don't see because of it's so blurry. And it goes back into another alleyway. So how I would assume he shot this is by walking from here forwards like this, and then tilting down and right to look there. And then he reversed it in post, and then here he did the same that he did in the intro with the doors closing and then going backwards and going backwards, and it follows the movement that goes back out, and he's doing those effects after and after. Most likely what he did here is he found a lot of nice doors and always started going with the gimbal super close to the door and then walking backwards, and then afterwards in post animating the doors. I don't assume the doors actually opened. Here, and those were just simply 6 times the same effect in a row. Very, very, very cool. Have rarely seen that before. And then he's always, of course, adding the door slam sound to really sell that effect. Clunk, 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 clunk. Another gimbal shots here, blurry motion going backwards, and those were 2 times here the same effect. Just instead of making it with doors, he did it with windows, going back, a lot of motion blur. Then here you see on the outside comes the new shot in which he does the same. He's animating this window down as if though it was closing. He's zooming out of the shot, and then comes another shot on top of that in which he again masks out a window, moves out, a lot of motion blur as you see. The camera moves there and then zooms in again in another opening right behind. So here another house, and then another house, and yet another times to the window, and then into a drone shot. So the movement of the camera was back through all the alleyways, out of the house, and then in again in the drone shot. Really cool footage. This is a very nice transition. Also, he has a foreground element that allows him then to wipe over in the next shot. So here he masks or fades that one out when he comes into the shot of the canal. Super nice bokeh here. It's very, very blurry background. This is also super cool. Don't exactly know how he did that, but he animates the clock, and then it turns into another clock. So he's matching elements here very much. So that fits perfectly, and zooms out. Very, very, very quick zoom out. That can be achieved by having a zoom lens and zooming directly into the watchtower, and then zooming out very quickly without moving the camera, so maybe on a tripod. And then he masks it out into the opening here, and he doubles it, if you see that here and there. The viewing holes of a binocular, however you call that. Then he has this bubbly warp effect. Another hyperlapse, you see he's moving left, but at the same time the clouds are moving super fast. And then here comes in this one. You see slowly fading in the spokes of the bike, and suddenly it's in the bike. So the transitions are very, very nice and smooth. Here another fast forward. You see a lot of motion blur here, so it's just he filmed it out of the tram, and then by fast forwarding it he adds a lot of motion blur. Another masking transition here. Masks to white, and then to dark, and then suddenly it's in a completely different setting. Super nice bokeh. Another masking transition here. He's moving left, and then there's someone blocking the camera, and then here he's masking it out. Or actually the other way around. It could also be that this is the mask here. Again masked out. So you see that the effects that he's using, he's making them perfect. But it's a couple of them that he's repeating. So if you learn those, and if you really focus on those few signature effects, you can actually edit similarly to him. Another masking transition. This one is a really cool one. So here you see the girl, and then it goes to a freeze frame, and then he has some sort of a stylization effect, and then here's a freeze frame, and then he slowly zooms out of this, and this one is animated into a masked opening of another shot that is now zooming out from. Here you clearly see that there's motion blur on these parts, so this was in the actual footage, and this here is masked out, so from the shot before. Super cool. Nice drone shot. Again, here listen a lot of ambient sound. Another hyperlapse here, very fast. You hear swoosh sound before. This fades in here with a mask and then goes under a bridge. And then this looks like a, yeah, this is a hyperlapse shot from a boat or from the other side of a river. Listen to the sounds here. And then here, very smooth transition again. So he wipes the camera to the right and fades the transition here. Here another two very fast. This is the second shot here. The person with the bike coming in here masked it like this, coming with a bike, and then another foreground element, another quick 2, 3, 4, 5 frames on the bike, and here another mask, another hyperlapse. And now this is probably the coolest effect of the entire video. Yeah, that was pretty sick, right? So let's look at that again. It comes from that round green light, and then here appears the black part of the eye. And again, it's filmed from super, super close in the eye and super far zoomed in. Then he fades out the green circle in the eye, goes out. This was filmed on the gimbal. And he reverses the gimbal shot. The exact same thing happened here. Here's a lot of blur on the movement, and then you see frame, 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 how the black part of the eye is fading in, and then starts the movement backwards. Here you see in the inside of the eye is the actual footage that was lying underneath that. Here this exact same. Here you see that the bus is coming towards him. So this was the way this footage was filmed, by going super close to the eye, then rotating and turning backwards and going behind his friend. Super cool effect. This was also super, super cool. Another shot on the gimbal, turning around, fast forwarding, and then here, from here to this frame, he masked the mirror. This is the original mirror, and now it's masked. And a shot underneath, and then you see it goes into the shot here, and then you think he's directly filming this building, but the building is actually filmed through the reflection of the window here. Before you can realize any of that, he zooms in again here and goes in between those two people. The image turns black, and then it opens up between houses, goes up, another shot between houses, panning down, opening a door, gimbal shot moving forward, a lot of motion blur, going through an opening, and then in the opening he masks it out again, and then it goes back into the dome. People walking backwards, a lot of motion, he's turning up with the gimbal and then turning around. Now it's also super interesting, you see him rotating here, and then he matches the rotation of the dome to a rotation of a euro coin, and then underneath you already see another rotation going on that he then perfectly fits the euro onto the lid of a canal. Okay, he goes into a rotation and then adds elements that perfectly fit on top of that, and that really flashes you in that moment when you see that. Another masking transitions, the birds in front of the camera. This one similar effect to the Eiffel Tower, and then the video ends with a lock that he already starts with. Watching this one, I was really impressed. TK, that was a sick edit. I guess many of you, same as me, get really humbled in the level of editing skills that some other people do have. If you enjoyed this video breakdown, then over here you find a playlist with quite a few more video breakdowns just like this. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and also tell me in the comments below which video I should analyze next. I want to hear more of those suggestions. Until next time.